You know, large language models are everywhere. They're churning out billions of words a minute, and we're plugging them into, well, everything, from how we search online to how we work. But as these things get more and more powerful, there's this shadow that's growing right alongside them. So the real question is, how do we navigate this incredible but also kind of perilous new world? That's exactly what we're here to figure out.
And that brings us to the billion-dollar question, right? Every time you type a question, every time you click a button, you're feeding the machine. But are we actually building a smarter future? Or are we just accidentally creating a massive surveillance system with our own data? And maybe more importantly, who's got the keys? And are they even locking the doors? So in this explainer, we're basically going on a mission to pull back the curtain on AI privacy. First, we're going to uncover some of those hidden dangers. Then, we'll actually map out the riskiest areas. After that, and this is the cool part, we'll get our hands on the official playbook the pros use. We'll even see how they build these digital guardrails to keep things safe. And finally, we'll tie it all together to see why trust is like the most important thing in this whole new AI era. Okay, so everyone is racing to use AI. And yeah, for good reason. It's a total game changer. But in this digital gold rush, it feels like a lot of people are forgetting to, check their gear. They're rolling out these super powerful tools without really getting a handle on the brand new, super complex privacy risks they're creating for their own companies and for us.
And this right here? This nails it. Every single chat, every prompt, it's like taking a step in a digital minefield. If you don't have a plan, a real system, you're not innovating. You're just closing your eyes, crossing your fingers, and hoping you don't step on something. So how do we get that map? How do we find a safe path through all this?
Well, to build that map, first we've got to understand the terrain, right? That means figuring out who's responsible for what and really pinpointing the specific dangers we need to be looking out for.
This is actually a super important point. See, responsibility for AI safety is shared. You've got the provider. That's the company that builds the massive AI model itself. They're responsible for the core safety of the engine, so to speak. But then you have the deployer. That's the company that takes that engine and puts it into a car, like a customer service chatbot. They're responsible for how it's actually used out on the road. So yeah, privacy isn't a one-person job. It's absolutely a team sport.
So what kind of stuff are they trying to protect us from? Well, here's a look at some of the big danger zones. You've got the obvious one, sensitive data disclosure, like, whoops, I just pasted my bank details into a public chatbot. But then there's the sneakier stuff. Adversarial attacks, for instance. That's where someone tries to trick the AI into breaking its own rules. Or data interception, where someone snoops on your data as it travels over the internet. Honestly, any one of these could turn into a total privacy nightmare.
Okay, so we've mapped out the dangers. Now what? We need a plan, a playbook. And you know what? A really solid one actually exists, put together by data protection experts. Think about it like this. You would never ever build a skyscraper by just piling bricks on top of each other and hoping it stands up, right? No way. You'd follow a super detailed step-by-step blueprint. And that's exactly what this playbook is for AI privacy.
And here it is, the official blueprint. I know, it looks like something you'd see on a mad scientist's chalkboard, but trust me, this flowchart is the real deal. It's the industry standard for walking organizations through every single stage of using an AI, making sure that risks are spotted, analyzed, and dealt with. This is the map that gets us through that minefield.
But don't worry, you don't have to memorize that crazy chart. It really just boils down to these 4 phases. First, you figure out the risks. That's the assessment. Then, you build things to stop them. That's control. After that, you take a step back and see what risks are still left over. And finally, and this is key, you never stop watching. You review and monitor constantly because the digital world is always changing. It's a loop, a constant cycle of getting better and safer.
All right, enough theory. Let's see what this playbook actually looks like in the real world. Let's look at the actual digital guardrails that companies are building to protect our data.
So here's the classic problem. We've all been there. You're trying to get help from a chatbot, and without even thinking about it, you type in your home address or some private health info. And boom, just like that, your data is now sitting on their servers, creating a huge privacy risk. So how do you stop that?
You build guardrails. The system can have filters that are smart enough to spot things that look like a social security number or a credit card number and just block them. It can scrub the data clean on the fly. Or it can do something really simple. Just pop up a big, clear warning that says, hey, please don't put personal info in here. See? These are practical, common-sense controls that tackle the risk head-on. But the risks don't just stop with what you type in. Every single time you send a prompt to an AI, your data has to travel across the internet, and that journey itself is a weak spot. Bad actors could try to snatch that data while it's in transit, or they could attack the API, the system's front door, to try and break in or steal info.
And again, we see another set of smart countermeasures. You use powerful encryption so that even if someone intercepts your data, it's just unreadable gibberish. You lock that digital front door with strong passwords and keys so only the right people can get in. And you put limits on how many requests can come in at once to stop certain kinds of attacks. It's all part of that systematic process of controlling risk.
So we've been deep in the technical weeds here, right? Risk management, digital guardrails, but let's zoom all the way out and ask the big question. Why does any of this really matter? Well, it all comes down to one simple but incredibly powerful word: trust.
This right here is probably the most important takeaway of all. All this work managing privacy and security, it isn't about slowing AI down. It is the exact opposite. It's about building a foundation of trust so that AI can truly take off. We're only going to fully embrace this amazing technology if we can trust, really trust, that our privacy and our safety are baked into the design from the very beginning.
So, I'll just leave you with this thought. The next time you use a chatbot, or an AI art generator, or whatever it is, don't just be amazed by the magic. Take a second to think about the machinery behind it and ask yourself, who's navigating this minefield for me? Who's in charge of managing my risk? Because in the age of AI, not knowing isn't bliss, it's a liability.